Holo Access Network standing by. All Republic communications are encrypted.
Hello! Welcome, everybody, to... I forgot the name of this place. I completely
Welcome
forgot.
to the
Holo
Han.
Access Network. Welcome. I for half a second forgot. I thought this was Praxcast for a second, but you know what? I'm stupid.
No,
Hello,
it's
everybody. Welcome to Holo Access Network. I am Opie. This is Scrub. We're talking about Star Wars Episode 2, Attack of Them Clones. The ones that all look like Command Wars. Because we need somebody from New Zealand to shoot people in the face. And droids. But mostly Jedi and droids.
Indeed.
But for right now, we got to start with the completely obvious. That would probably be the attempted assassination of Padme Amidala. Because everybody knows that that's a great scene. Also, this entire movie is insane. Like, a lot of people don't like this movie for some reason. I don't know why. Seems like a lot of people just hate it just to hate it.
I mean, the dialogue is low-key a little cringy. You can't blame it for that. It's they have a point.
I don't. Yeah, like, you know, liking sand, not liking sand, being coarse, rough, irritating, getting just everywhere. All that good. Yeah, I blame George Lucas mainly, but you know, it's fine.
What can you do? You know.
Yeah, what can you do?
So you mentioned the assassination attempt of Padme Amidala, and what we were talking about earlier was how like quite a tragedy, like a tragic opening it was for a Star Wars movie, because you didn't really have that, and at least not to our knowledge, with any other like part of any other openings of the other trilogies. So, but no, that one was quite impactful because Padme's handmaiden died in service of her to protect her.
Yeah, so like when you look at like other Star Wars movies, you look at Episode 3, it's all action-packed and thrilling, and Anakin and Obi-Wan Kenobi are trying to get aboard the Invisible Hand. Episode 4, you have the assault on Tantive 4. You have like you have Empire Strikes Back, where Luke is trying to go after that probe droid, gets attacked by the Wampa. You got the mission to save Han in Episode 6. And then even Episode 1, it's like, you know, Obi-Wan and Qui-Gon trying to get aboard the Trade Federation vessel, and those two guys die. Okay, that's fine. But then in Episode 2, you have one of Padme's handmaidens, Corday. She ends up getting blown up by Zam in an assassination attempt on her life. And footnote that all of these fucking handmaidens are supposed to be like very intimate and have very intimate knowledge about the person who they are supposed to be protecting. So this was somebody that Padme not only knew personally, but knew basically like a secondary family in the palace, and this person sacrificed her life to save the maze, and she obviously feels guilty about that. So this is not only like an investigation to see who's trying to kill her, but also trying to kill her handmaidens, like by proxy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So after she then goes in the deleted scenes to the Senate. Everybody's like, oh yeah, you almost got killed this morning, but you know, we can't do anything about that because there's kind of a whole fucking thing going on with, you know, the Confederacy of Independent Systems who want to be free from the Republic and its tyranny and the bureaucracy and not pay those fucking taxes. So nobody can really do anything right now. So our boy, the master manipulator Palpatine, suggests, hey guys, how about you get Obi-Wan and his apprentice, Anakin, what's his name, to protect Padme while this entire thing's going down. And Anakin, poor Anakin, is just, I wouldn't say perplexed, I would say more hyper infatuated with Padme.
Oh boy, I think we're like, he is, Annie is, not okay when it comes to Padme. I hadn't seen her in 10 years, Master.
He is far from okay.
Oh, no, yeah, no, not at all.
You haven't seen her in 10 years, and you've been dreaming about her. In your own words, you say, you've thought about her every day since you departed. It's like, bro, chill the fuck out for like 5 minutes, please. Whoever's trying to teach Anakin about, like, you know, halting your emotions and controlling your emotions, you're not doing a very good fucking job.
Obi-Wan.
Kiadi-mundi.
Kiadi-mundi. Oh, shoot.
Kiadi-mundi. Because in Legends, there was supposed to be this whole deal where Kiadi-mundi was supposed to be like a secondary master to Anakin Skywalker and teach him about, like, controlling emotions and shit. Apparently he wasn't doing that good of a job. So yeah, needless to say, Anakin was very perplexed by the grace and the beauty that is Natalie Portman. And it's all great. It's fine. Kind of.
What he means to say is Padme, not Natalie Portman, but I mean potato, right?
Yeah, it's... You know that Natalie Portman is basically just Padme, or vice versa. Who cares? They're both the same person anyway.
Well, so moving along along into the movie, we got, after the assassination, the investigation, which we know for a fact that at first, Obi and Annie were kind of arguing. Arguing is like, no, we are only going to protect her. We're not going to investigate, right? And honestly, Anakin has merit. He had merit to investigate into who was trying to assassinate Padme. And then basically it's because if it wasn't for that investigation, the Republic wouldn't have figured out that the Separatists were being led by Count Dooku. You know, they would have been put at a great disadvantage in the Clone Wars.
Yeah. So Obi-Wan Kenobi's trying to argue that, we're just here for security. We're not here to do a full-blown investigation onto who exactly is trying to murder you and why. And Anakin, being the macho bravado that he is, he wants to impress Padme, so he immediately goes for the line of, oh yeah, we're going to find out who's trying to kill you. They obviously do a little bit of a back and forth until Zam decides to, try to use the drone and the weird-ass fucking centipede bugs to kill Padme. And then we get, a chase scene, which provides beautiful, beautiful, beautiful views of the planet of Coruscant, all CGI. Well, for the most part, except for, like, the chase scene where he runs after Zam on the ground. We go into the bar. Obi-Wan cuts her hand off. Django shoots her in the neck with a poison dart.
Yes.
And because of that poison dart, Obi-Wan Kenobi figures out, oh, hey, I might know who knows something about this. Goes to Dex.
The iconic Dex, the one and only.
Dex, the one and only Dex. One of my favorite characters in Star Wars. And then he goes on this whole spiel about how, oh yeah, this dart comes from those cloners out in Camino past the Rishi Maze. Yeah, just take a left and you're fine. So that also leads to Obi-Wan then trying to figure out where Camino is. Oh, it's not in the archives. Why isn't it in the archives?
It must be incomplete.
Someone obviously must have deleted it. Must be incomplete. Hey, Master, somebody must have erased it from the archive memory. That motherfucker's like 5, by the way. He's figuring this out based off of pure fucking logic. And Obi-Wan Kenobi's just fucking stifled by the idea that that Camino apparently doesn't fucking exist anymore because it's not on a fucking computer. So then, Obi-Wan Kenobi and, Yoda had this whole fucking back and forth because no one could possibly delete, an entire planetary system off of the archives. The Jedi archives. The archives that have been around since the Old Republic 4,000 years ago. That literally contain all of the information that the Republic has on literally everything and anything having to do with the wider galaxy. Who could have possibly been able to actually delete an entire star system? And for what reason did they do it? Because Count Dooku turned to the dark side. The dark side of the Force. And to be completely fair, if anybody really had a reason to turn to the dark side of the Force, it was probably Count Dooku. Let's be completely fair. Because out of all the reasons, he was like, oh yeah, the Republic's a little, like they're kind of terrible people. Very corrupt. The Jedi Order has basically gotten their way into melding in politics, and that's the only reason why Mace Windu was able to get his position on the Jedi Council, as also seen in the the Tales of the Jedi series. So then he deletes the Camino system off the archives because he's effectively joined the dark side of the Force at this point and joined Palpatine. And then Qui-Gon dies by the hand of Maul, and then Yaddle dies by the hand of Qui-Gon, or by the hand of Count Dooku.
I was about to say.
That ultimately sets up the Clone Wars. So now that Camino has been effectively destroyed, Sifo Dyas, the one who initially created the Clone Army as a way to deter, like, a future war, is taken down by Count Dooku to make sure that nobody knows about Camino. And now that Palpatine has full control over this entire circumstance, it's all set up to allow the Kaminoans to create a clone army to fight off against another army in the future, controlled by Count Dooku. Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. It's a good plan. It's a very, very escalating plan to make sure that the Republic has an army whenever they need one, and for a future army to rise up against the Republic, because Palpatine purposefully pulls the strings in the background to make it to where the Republic is not only actively against the worlds that are in the Outer Rim and actively ensuring that they do not have the necessary tools and, resources that they need, but he is ensuring that all those resources and all those tools go to the core worlds, so the Outer Rim feel like that they have to side with the initial Confederacy of Independent Systems. It's very fucking good how he does this.
And of course, think about it. Everything you just said, up until now, all while Annie and Padme are falling in love. But it's not just a love story. It was part of the plan all along too. There's just two people just falling in love, and then this shit happens.
No, that entire sequence of Padme and Anakin falling in love is also part of Palpatine's plan, because he needs Padme out of the way so his Army Creation Act can pass through the Senate, because she's a massive opposer against it. So, like, in the beginning of the movie, in a deleted scene, on top of the fact that she's also nearly been assassinated, she talks about the Military Creation Act, because this whole ordeal is happening the Confederacy of Independent Systems, they're obviously building up more worlds to come with them to fight against the Republic. Padme doesn't want a war because she already saw what war could do to many of these planets because she was on Naboo during the fucking Naboo crisis. So she's seen what war can do to people. And on top of the fact that she's also a pacifist anyway. Or, not really a pacifist, more like a anti-war person. So, she wants to deny the Republic the ability to create an army. So she is nearly assassinated and is ordered by Palpatine, the man who made her or convinced her to make him into the supreme leader or the fucking supreme chancellor of the Republic, and orders her to go back to Naboo and put all of her trust in Jar Jar fucking Binks, which is the worst decision that she could have made.
Sorry, you still get me every time with that.
Which part? Jar Jar fucking Binks?
Yes.
Jar Jar fucking Binks. So then Jar Jar, later on down the line, he's manipulated into, well, I say quote-unquote manipulated because there's still the whole idea that Jar Jar is secretly a part of everything the entire time. And Jar Jar gives emergency powers to Chancellor Palpatine, allowing him to create the clone army, or to use the clone army to be able to take on the Confederacy of Independent Systems, which then starts up the Clone Wars. It's not a bad idea. It's not a bad plan.
Oh no, that's the thing. People are just so impressed with Palpatine that he's such a good villain, and we know he's not good. He's never been good, but we're just so impressed by him. We're not even mad at him. Frustrated? Absolutely, because he's extremely clever.
Yeah. The fact that he was managing to manipulate all these people behind the scenes while also putting on the facade of this very intelligent and very charismatic individual the entire time is just, it's chef's kiss. It's like, mwah, it's great. And while all of this is going on, Padme and Anakin are falling in love on Naboo. And that's where I'll turn it to you because I need to grab a Dr. Pepper real quickly. Because I went on that whole rambling about Palpatine being a bad...
Say less. All right, let me tell you. Annie and Padme, where do I even begin? Okay, so here's the thing. I know there's so much to say about the relationship. Is it low-key creepy? If you keep interpreting in a certain way, then I can see where people are, coming from. However, you have to understand that with it, I totally, completely understand that Anakin yes, I get secondhand embarrassment sometimes when I see him, but him interacting with Padme, we understand why. He doesn't know how to interact with Padme, especially how to control these feelings, okay? Now, we know when he talks to Obi-Wan, he's actually a lot more casual. He's a little bit more relaxed. He's less robotic because he's spoken with Obi-Wan. He's been with him for 10 years. With that being said, when it comes to anyone else and it was just trying to be pure business, he's okay, but then with Padme, he's just trying to come off as cool, trying to impress her. It just doesn't work. And it mixed with the fact that he doesn't know what to do with himself because of these feelings. Years of learning how to suppress feelings. Annie wears his heart on his sleeve. It's just not in his character to do that. And so, like I kind of mentioned in the previous episode when it came to say the dichotomy between Anakin and Padme and then Obi-Wan and Satine's relationship. Satine is an individual who also is not afraid to speak her mind, to wear her heart on her sleeve. She and Anakin share a sort of common trait in that regard. Annie is so extroverted. He's super charismatic. He genuinely cares about the people that he loves. He cares about Padme. He cares about Ahsoka even after it's like a rough start to, taking her as a Padawan. He cares for her. And he also cares for Obi-Wan. Even if Obi-Wan struggles to reciprocate or at least admit that he also like cares for Annie as like a brother.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because
yeah,
throughout in the Clone Wars, whenever Anakin thinks that Obi-Wan has been murdered by a bounty hunter, Anakin goes full on fucking.
He's angry.
Alien versus Predator. He's literally hunting down this man just to fucking kill him for killing Obi-Wan, and he doesn't even know that that's Obi-Wan. Like, Obi-Wan takes on the identity of this bounty hunter and fakes his own death, and fucking Anakin just goes full-on Blade Runner and is tracking this man down just to fucking kill him for what he did to Obi-Wan.
And it's a beautiful thing, but also a pretty decent like wake up call for Obi-Wan, albeit even if a bit too late. A good like wake up call for Obi-Wan to understand how much he hurt Annie and how much Annie cared about him. I don't really think he's had that since Satine or Qui-Gon. Honestly, I want to say both. I want to say that, yeah, because I don't. Thinking about it now, anyone who actually cared about him, there's really only so many that you can really count on your hand, like on your fingers.
Yeah, like the only two people that I can honestly think about right off the top of my head is Qui-Gon Jinn and Satine, because maybe Siritachi in her own sense.
Yeah.
Because, like, in the Legends novelization, obviously we've talked about Siritachi before.
Right.
And how Obi-Wan Kenobi had their little relationship that they had going on. But then, Yoda and Qui-Gon had to trauma dump onto both of them, and they then decided...
I don't think it was, like, nothing as strong as, say, Anakin. Like,
right.
But going back to what I was talking about, that is the kind of person that Anakin is. He loves people and he wants to genuinely protect them. And when he's being suppressed or he's, feels not underappreciated, it was betrayed. It hits him hard because after everything he's done. We'll get into I'll get more into it in Revenge of the Sith when he loses himself, but that's what honestly I can understand why Padme is drawn to Annie in that regard. Just like how I compared Satine and Anakin, I compare Padme and Obi-Wan, how they share this having to suppress them, a lot of their emotions on the outside, but they do genuinely feel a lot on the inside. And in Padme's case, she has to remain reserved and, composed, especially since all eyes are on her in the Senate. Not to mention that she's especially a huge target in the Senate because of the separatists and Count Dooku. She's extremely important. Everyone is always watching and listening to her. She's super influential.
Yeah, she is about as influential as a person can get. Out of the two most influential people in the entirety of the Senate, it has to be Palpatine and Padme. Because not only do they both come from the same planet and they both have been taught the same ways to communicate with people, but Padme is literally out here looking out for not only just the people in the core worlds, but the people in the Outer Rim too, because she was serving in the what is effectively the Naboo Peace Corps, going out to multitudes of planets and trying to help them recover from disasters, dying stars and all that shit, and economic disasters and ecological disasters and all that shit. So that gets to the point where Padme is not only beloved by the people in the Senate, but she's also beloved by people in the Outer Rim, Mid Rim, Inner Rim. Basically, everybody that has ever heard of Padme, they immediately like her. People, even 20 years after Revenge of the Sith, are fighting in the name of Padme fucking Amidala. That's how fucking important she is to the wider galaxy, even 20 years later.
And I love to bring that topic up of, like, are there any strong women in Star Wars? Padme fucking Amidala, of course, no der. She's amazing.
Any strong women in Star Wars? Let's see here. Padme, Sabe, literally all of the fucking handmaidens that take after Padme.
Satine.
They all literally fight in the name of Padme. Not only for Padme, but for themselves. The literal fucking daughter of Padme, a.k.a. Leia.
Leia, of course, Leia.
You could also say Mon Mothma, in her own special way, is, a strong leader because she not only is like a pseudo-leader of the rebellion in the future, but she also helps fund them and eventually actually becomes a leader that helps with providing not only the plans to the Death Star, but also helps with the attack.
And then you got Bail Organa, always such a close friend to Padme, of course.
Right. But speaking of strong women, I guess that's what we were initially talking about.
Oh my gosh, that'd be a really nice video of women in Star Wars. That'd be really good to touch on. Let's see, what were we talking about? We kind of went off on a tangent. But so yeah, we were talking about Annie and Padme and how basically are they compatible? I would argue if it wasn't for the Clone Wars, I think they could be happy. And
yeah,
I think if like Annie was given the chance, I think he would honestly leave the Order. And that, like, it's really hard because he wants to get stronger to protect those that he loves. So I can see why he wouldn't want to leave for that. But that reason alone is like has good intentions. Just like Padme said, he's a good person.
See, that's the issue that I find when I think of, episode 2. It's like, Anakin is so dedicated to the Jedi Order, just like Obi-Wan is, that he doesn't want to leave the Jedi Order. But unlike Obi-Wan Kenobi, he was, dead set on trying to initiate with this relationship with Padme, unlike Obi-Wan Kenobi and Satine. Because, like, Anakin, as you said, wears his heart on his sleeve. He's extremely emotionally expressive. And he knows what he wants, and he will do whatever he has to, or whatever he can, to get what he wants. And Anakin acknowledges that he has some emotions for Padme, even during one of my favorite scenes in the entirety of Star Wars. Swear to God, that fireplace scene where Anakin's just going on that massive tangent about how he's thought of her for the past 10 years. He is dying inside because he can't have her. He's dying emotionally, physically, spiritually. You are in my very soul tormenting me. And I'm watching this whole thing like, okay, Hayden, you fucking go off. You go off, girl. You're killing it. You're absolutely fucking killing it. And like, everybody wants to talk about, like, oh, the dialogue's cringy, the dialogue is whatever. Hayden Christensen is pulling this shit off, trying to express his emotions like someone who's never fucking done it before in their entire fucking life.
You know what? That is true. You are absolutely right.
Doing it.
Wait, no, you are absolutely right. Compared to any other introvert that at least I know, then again, or someone who's not used to speaking their mind out loud, Anakin, all things considered, did a really good job and had the guts to do it. It is commendable.
Also, I'm sure the George Lucas approved black leather dress with the fucking collar attached kind of helped. I'm sure it did. But Anakin just expressing all of this outright to Padme, and she's actively trying to shoot him down in every way, shape, and form that she can find. Because, yeah, she does make a couple of good points about how she's a senator, he's a Jedi. They can't exactly hide this entire relationship from the entire galaxy. Because you know what happens immediately right off the bat. As soon as they fucking get married, every single fucking handmaiden already knows that Padme has gotten married to somebody. Because every handmaiden has to know everything about what Padme does, who she's with, who she's interacting with, and even, I think, in one of the fucking books that just came out, one of the handmaidens was impersonating Padme, and she literally sees Anakin walk into her apartment like it's a fucking casual Tuesday afternoon. And she's like, what the fuck are you doing in here?
Yeah, I think I remember something about that. It would actually be kind of funny. I don't know which one that one is, but sorry, this would be funny.
Yeah, it's really fucking funny. And it also speaks to like how loyal and committed that the handmaidens are to Padme, that they would all actively know that she is in a relationship with Anakin Skywalker.
Oh, yeah.
Like the fucking Jedi. And they would not tell a damn soul.
And
to
they
anyone.
knew, and yeah, they knew she was, obviously, they know everything. They knew she was pregnant.
Yeah, every single one of them knew. And while Padme, over the course of time, you know, maidens who were supposed to be handling her dresses, handling her food, security, and all of that, the handmaidens still knew. And they were all there until the very end, or at least until just cut very short to the very end. Because, you know, Padme obviously runs off to Mustafar by herself to encounter Anakin, but, you know, that's a story for another video, or another podcast anyway.
Yeah. And then, gosh,
Then it happens.
shit happens, you know? You just get hitched and knocked up by a Jedi boy, and then
Oh yeah, that pastor also knew, or at least the guy who married them off.
yeah.
And, you know, obviously they didn't have rings, so they just switched droids. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can we just say how loyal C3PO and R2 are also, like, they're loyal as fuck. They're loyal.
They're loyal. And they know that, like, they are the OGs when it comes to loyalty. Who is the only person? Who's the only one that went with Padme to Mustafar? That's C motherfucking 3PO.
Yes, sir, it is.
He was the only one that went with her. And then R2 being extremely loyal and committed to Anakin Skywalker. And R2 just leaves Anakin on Mustafar because he thinks he's dead, which is kind of fucked up, I'm not gonna lie.
No, it's not fucked up. It's sad because R2 is just like, oh.
Well, I mean, fucked up as in extremely sad because R2 thinks that Anakin's dead, so he just hops on to Padme's shuttle and just leaves Anakin on Mustafar. He would never have done that if he knew that Anakin was alive. And I guess that wouldn't have been good for R2 either, because R2 would have been the last remnant of Padme that would have been around Anakin. So either Anakin would have been so pissed off that he would have killed R2, or he would have tried to protect R2 with his very life.
Yeah, but
either way,
I was gonna say, but that should be saved for another video.
Yeah, maybe that's a what if kind of thing. But that being said, thank you all. Actually, we have to talk about Geonosis or Tatooine, because Tatooine gets really fucked up because
oh my
Anakin
gosh, I
goes
can't believe we forgot about his mom and his close descent to the dark side. Okay, we need to talk about this quickly.
We almost forgot about all of that. So, the weird thing about Tatooine is, like, Anakin goes, like, he's been having visions for the past, like, God knows how long about his mother dying. and he only just now, like, actually tries to go and find out what's wrong with his mom, only to find out that Watto sold her to some dude on the other side of Mos Eisley. And that just so happens to be Lars, like the Lars family that eventually take in Luke Skywalker. And I guess, like, Grandpa Owen, somewhere in there dies. I don't know when, but he does. Which is kind of screwed up, not gonna lie. So then Anakin ends up running off to save his mom, who's been kidnapped by Tusken Raiders. He just mows down all of them.
Oh,
not
no.
just the men.
I'm sorry. I have to say, like, the moment when he finds his mama, gosh, there was that. Okay, this is what I also like to bring up to people when they say, oh my gosh, Hayden Christensen is so cringy as Anakin. He can't act. He was so bad. It's like, no, you can tell that he can act by the one scene alone when Anakin is holding his mama dying. Like, dying mama. And because that is, like, the most bittersweet, like, heartfelt moment, and you can see how real it felt real.
Yeah. And again, this is someone who in this entire time is not good at showing emotions. He goes on a complete fucking anger-induced rage from hell that he slaughters an entire Tusken village, and the fucking backlash from that entire massacre is so powerful that Yoda can feel it from halfway across the galaxy.
Qui-Gon was telling him as a Force ghost to stop. He was begging him to stop, and Yoda heard that.
This entire fucking massacre is so powerful that Qui-Gon and Yoda can do nothing about it. Yoda is having a rough time because he's like, oh, Anakin's going on a fucking rampage. Something's happening with him. He's going fucking full on anger mode. The dark side is strong with this one. And Qui-Gon, through the Force, is obviously trying to be like, yo, Anakin, the fuck you doing? Stop doing that. But he can't do anything because, you know, he's a Force ghost and he never completed his training. So Anakin goes through this entire thing. He then takes his mother back to the Lars homestead to be buried. And, you know, that whole conversation between him and Padme plays out, where he is blaming everybody, including himself, for his mother's death. Because if he would have been stronger, then he would have been able to save her. If he would have figured out about the dreams earlier, he could have saved her. If Obi-Wan would never have been holding him back as much as he thought that he was holding him back, then he would have been able to save her. And then he just goes on that whole fucking thing. He kills them all, every single one of them, not just the men, but the women and the children too.
I knew you were going to quote that.
It's a fucking flood of emotions just bursting out of him all at once, and it's fucking perfect.
George Lucas. George Lucas, everyone. George Lucas.
And then he just breaks down crying, and, you know, Padme is just... she is both very sad for him in general for what he's gone through, but also she's figuring out that this is the first time he's actually expressing true unleashed emotion. And I don't know why, but that it's kind of weird because that's like the moment where she could have just left him on Tatooine and she would have been fine. But, you know, she leaves him. She decides to stick with him through and through.
Well, the thing is, it goes back to, we'll probably get into it in the next video, but it goes back to understanding that Annie, while he has, you know, really dark urge, like he's capable of acting upon the dark urge to, you know, do what he did, she understands why, but knows that he's still he's still a good person with good intentions. I know it's really hard, but it's something that she was hoping that he could work through. And I know for a fact that we'll get to that in the next video. We'll get to that next video. But that's who Padme is. She's very forgiving because she knows where he came from, obviously, and how he grew up. And now that he's being taught to suppress everything because of, Jedi teachings, she doesn't blame him.
She doesn't blame him for having all these emotions, but he's still, actively committed this, what is effectively a war crime against the Tusken people. And then that's where Obi-Wan Kenobi comes in with his whole investigation into Count Dooku, and he's been kidnapped, and they go to Geonosis to save him, and that's where they get captured, and they, express their love for one another. I love you too. Let's keep our relationship a secret from literally everybody except for people who are completely obvious enough and have, enough IQ or enough of their frontal lobe to understand that we are now in a relationship. And he's like, okay. And then they just decide to do that because it's great. And the fact that nobody actively went out of their way to be like, yo, you guys are in a relationship. You got to stop this now. This is not cool when it comes to the Jedi Order. Nobody did any of that, really. Nobody expressed anything, despite the fact that it was completely obvious that they were in a relationship for a long, long time up until this point. Or, that Anakin had emotions for Padme up to this point, and now they are in an actual relationship, and then they get married. So yeah, kind of crazy how that all worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that everything?
Yeah, except for the whole duel between, Anakin, Obi-Wan, and Count Dooku, and the Clone Wars officially starting, and all the Jedi getting murked. But, that's the finale of the movie. Not really a lot to really talk about, aside from the fact that, everything is now gone according to how Palpatine designed it, which I'm not buying that one bit. I think he just made all this up as he went along, and everything just started piling together in a correct way because everyone's fucking crazy. But yeah, that being said, I think that's the end of the video. Thank you all for being here, listening to this podcast. If you like this kind of content, please hit that notification bell, that subscribe button, and share for more. Hit that comment button. Place a comment. I don't mind. Nobody minds.
Yeah.
It adds to the algorithm.
It does.
Subscribe to the OnlyFans. It'll be great.
He actually has one. He actually made one.
I do have an OnlyFans actually.
But
I'm not doing anything.
It's nothing weird. It's actually kind of funny.
Kind of weird, but yeah. Thanks for showing up. See you later. I guess.
Adios. Goodbye, everyone.
Adios.